Soon there will be enough games, actual football games, that the construct of college football is not going to be as much of a topic. Not for me, at least. But what is funny, actually unbelievably ironic is the best way to put it. What's funny and ironic about the current state of pay for play in college football is how it's come full circle. I mean, this is really remarkable. Pay for play is the model of today. And that is, players are saying and going from place to place saying, what do you have for me? What do you have for me? The very thing that ended the SMU football program decades ago, I can tell you all about it. Tell you all about it firsthand. You don't know slime. You have no idea how slimy and lawless and treacherous and full of guns and hookers and politicians it was. To think that the very thing that ultimately ended the SMU football program, the only program to ever get the death penalty, and a lot of people thought justifiably so, the thing that ended it is now the way the SMU football program is going to be saved. It's really a pretty remarkable thing. Now, I won't spend too much time saying this industry, this out of control, rudderless, directionless industry, you would think needs to fix itself to kind of get a grip on things. I'm not sure that it will, but if there wasn't a better example of how ridiculous the industry of college football is right now, not going to be, is right now, is playing itself out in the most ironic example with SMU. What SMU as a football program is now doing is desperate, it's pathetic, and it's unavoidable. Oh, and it's unbelievably ironic. They're having to buy their way into a conference. Okay? And that's not an exaggeration. They're just going to have to say, can we just give you guys some money to come play? This is really all the things I just said. Desperate, pathetic, unavoidable, all that stuff. So it is good reporting now that's out there. I don't need to tell you how this can be fixed. It needs to be fixed by having a commissioner. It needs to be fixed by having some direction. The industry of college football needs to be fixed so it makes some sense and has some staying power. If it wants to operate as an entertainment industry, it really needs some rules and it needs some guardrails, but it's not going to get them. And it's not going to get them because those with all the money are saying, I don't want any rules. I don't care what SMU has to do. The Texases of the world, the USCs of the world, the A&Ms of the world are saying, no rules for us because we got all the money. But man, this thing is playing itself out in the most bizarre way with SMU. What's reported now, then I'll give you a history lesson. I mean, a firsthand, behind the scenes. You know, whenever you're in a documentary, you know it's not good, right? There's a documentary, very good documentary on the scandal of SMU football, which honestly, the scandal of SMU, that story didn't go far enough. I can tell you, added to that scandal, this guy's going into witness protection programs, guys getting shot at, guys getting beat up. I mean, all kinds of scandalous things were going on well beyond just the SMU scandal involving the governor of Texas, which ultimately led to the death penalty, the end of their program. But there's a very good documentary about SMU and the scandal. What is unbelievably ironic and funny is the very thing that got them in trouble then is the thing that's going to have to save them now. Rich people bailing them out, paying them, buying their way in. That's where they are now. Yahoo Sports is reporting today. Headline is, SMU's Hail Mary to play big-time football again. The Mustangs once came undone due to booster money. 40 years later, can it come back because of it? The wild spending of aggressive, wealthy SMU football boosters once killed the program via an NCAA death penalty. That was the 80s, when local businessmen kept buying talented recruits. Everybody was. I can tell you how it all came undone, too. Now the businessmen are back, trying to save the program before a final churn of conference realignment leaves the prideful Mustangs behind forever. Give SMU backers this much. 4 decades ago, they never blinked at the price of a running back, and they sure aren't blinking now at the far steeper cost of conference realignment. This time, ready for it? $200 million. No, they're not going to make $200 million. The buy-in is going to be $200 million. To get into the league, they're going to say, hey, wait a minute, you guys. We don't get money. We got to give you money to play. Yes. And that'll be $200 million, please. And they may just do it. So SMU, which is currently a member of the American Athletic Conference, that's the AAC, is so desperate to get into a so-called Power 5 league. It's really Power 4 leagues. We're going to have 4 leagues left. As I predicted months and months ago, you're going to have 4 leagues, and then they are going to be limited. This is advice, but they're going to have to be limited by the haves, and the have-nots are going to be left out. If you're left out in the coming weeks, you're going to die in college football. So you got to be in one of those 4 leagues. And the powerhouses, the football factories, have all aligned themselves, or mostly aligned themselves, into 4 leagues. So you've got people like SMU, Cal, Stanford, Washington State, Oregon State, some legitimate programs that are saying, wait a minute, we're about to get left out. We're about to die. Our football program is about to die. We got to get in. And shockingly, to get in, SMU is being told, we'll let you in if you pay us. Buy in, $200 million. Yep. So guess how they're going to do it. All right. So in a proposal that will likely be voted on Tuesday, SMU could receive an ACC membership offer that calls for the Dallas-based school to receive nothing. In other words, they're going to be told you don't get any of the money. You're not going to get any of the TV money. Okay? You're just going to have to buy your way in. So that's the way it's going to play out. Now, it might very well play out that way for Stanford and Cal and anyone else as well. So what the ACC has said to them is, yeah, look, we're going to share the TV money, the TV contracts and platforms. We're not going to give you any of that. In fact, we're not going to give it to you for the next 6 or 7 years. Oh, you'd like to play? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what you do. You just pay us to get in. So SMU is now hitting up hitting up fans, alumni, business people, in the most ironic way of all, considering what happened to them in the 80s, or no, what they did to themselves in the 80s. They're now going to be hit up to get the money together to be able to give the money to play in the conference. And so they are starting a process to raise that money. Now, how this is so full circle, and you're wrong about a lot of this, how amazingly full circle this is. So you go back in time, SMU was an okay college program before the 80s and decided, you know what? And they were right. If you want to win, you have to cheat. You have to cheat. Unless you're a football factory and a powerhouse that has all the advantages built in. This is a smaller, wealthy school, preppy school in North Dallas, but it's surrounded by a ton of high school talent. The people of Dallas love football. The people that went to SMU, that were connected to SMU, really wanted to win in football. I mean, they just couldn't pull it off. Texas was getting everybody. A&M was getting everybody. The football factories, Oklahoma was getting everybody good out of Dallas. The football factories were just siphoning off their talent. So how are we going to be able to pull that off? Well, we'll just give them money. And they did. A lot. Often. And they didn't stop. And they wouldn't stop. So it led to everyone else doing the same thing. If you wanted a chance to win, it became really self-fulfilling to cheat. And if you wanted a chance to win, you really had no option. I was playing through it, took guys out, took them out for drinks, would hear the stories, and they'd say, what do you got for me? So as the SMU recruits are, as SMU is lining up and paying guys, other programs decided we better get in this game too, particularly when it comes to high school talent in the state of Texas. So one way to get them is you got to buy them. That was it. That was the game. You got to get them what they want. There were two levels of mafia-like dirt in college football in the 80s. There was the recruiting part of it, paying guys. And then the other end got really, really ugly, and that was agents paying guys and basically owning guys. In other words, if my agent, if you started giving me money and my family money, I really owe you a lot. And that ended up being another ugly side to it, which people don't like to talk about, the schools don't like to talk about, because it involved mafia members. And that's true. The NFL didn't want to talk about it either. So the early stages of this were SMU saying, look, we got one chance to win, and that is just buy people. And so they just started buying guys. They would offer them cash, whatever they wanted, they would get. And it was planned. It was incredibly well funded, and it was the going rate. And then other programs said, shoot, guys were going to recruiting visits. I know. And they'd talk about it. They would say, hey, what do you got for me? I was at Texas, and we'd say stuff like, well, we got a pitcher of beer. What do you want, some cocktails instead? No, man. What are you going to pay me? What do you mean? This is Texas. We don't pay guys. We just kind of win. These are all like all Americans and stuff. Well, screw that. I'm poor and I want some cash. Sure enough, it worked. In a matter of no time. I mean, it really happened fast. The cheating worked until the end. SMU became so good so fast, it was remarkable. I played on a team that had the most players drafted off of a college team ever. There was so much talent, it would make your head spin. And guys from all over the country. And you're going to say, well, you must have been buying players too. No. I mean, Texas was a very powerful program. There were that many superpowers in college football. Oklahoma, Texas, Notre Dame, USC. Miami was just starting to matter, but they had to buy some guys too. Nebraska, Florida State. The list wasn't all that long, and the powerhouses owned the industry. So you didn't really have to cheat that much. You kind of had your way. But, man, when the guys started cheating, it made a difference. It made a difference in a hurry. So I remember playing against an SMU team and looking out thinking, we're loaded with NFL talent, and so are they. What the heck happened? It was that fast. And I tell you how fast it went the other way. And this was going from a Texas team, when I was a freshman at Texas, having the most players drafted ever off a college team. Okay? I believe we had 8 or 9 guys drafted off defense alone. All of a sudden, by the time I was a senior in college, we had 3 guys get drafted. Late. And anyone ever wanted to know why, any one of us that were playing at the time said, yeah, I know why, because those guys that were normally coming here, they're not coming here now. They're getting paid off. So it worked. They went from nothing to a powerhouse really quickly with the payments. The payments were so organized and deep and, just sort of built into the whole fabric of their program, they couldn't stop it. It led to the point that the governor of Texas, at the time, Bill Clements, was approving the payouts. And then when one player, I know because he took a recruiting visit and some guys took him out, he got mad. I can't remember what he got upset about. He wasn't getting paid enough or wasn't starting or he asked for more money and didn't get it. He blew the place up. He tore the entire college football industry down in 2 or 3 interviews. He just started telling everybody what he'd been through. He started telling everybody what was going on. He was out to get revenge on the entire industry, and he told everyone that he could. And the NCAA said, okay, well, SMU's not Texas. SMU is not Notre Dame. They're not Florida State. They're not USC or Oklahoma. They can't fight us. We're going to come after them. They did. And every time that SMU was told, stop paying, stop it, they wouldn't stop because they were winning. It was their only way to win. I believe at one time in the conference, I believe there were 6 schools put on probation at one time because it was your only way to keep up. For the first time, cheating in the 80s was working to take down the powerhouses. I mean, Texas went from playing for regular national championships to being middle of the pack in no time. So it was working. It's just crazy to think, this isn't the agent part of it, where that led to far more sinister things. This is just the buying recruits part of it. To think that it comes full circle, that's how you now get players. It's now legal and above board and encouraged. Some people argue that's a good thing. Oh, well, why not just make it above board? Well, you've made it above board, and now it's led to the haves, the few super rich, are now saying, I don't want any rules. I don't want to do revenue sharing. I don't want to do anything like that. So screw off. I don't want you touching all the money we have, and I don't want you to touch my ability to pay people. So what it's now led to is this full circle where SMU is having now go back to the business community to say, remember what you did a long time ago that was illegal? They got us crushed and killed and ruined. I actually think they maybe could have made it without cheating after a while. They were that good. They had that many good players. Things were going so well, they just couldn't stop paying. Like the governor just wouldn't let them stop. But they're now having to go back and say, we're going to die if we don't do that again. And we need you to give us some money to buy our way into a league just so we can play for a few more years. That's where the industry is. That's how pathetic and rudderless and directionless, it's not SMU's fault this time, that the whole framework is. It is greed on top of greed by a select few. And now SMU has to go to the same business community, but maybe a new generation of business people, and say, look, sugar daddy, we don't just need your money. We need your money just to get into a league because we got to buy our way in to the tune apparently of $200 million. Will the ACC take them? They might. They have on Tuesday to decide. I don't think this framework has any staying power. I really don't. I don't know how long anyone in their right mind, whether it's SMU, Stanford, Cal, or anybody else, because there's going to be a few others that are saying, well, I guess we have to buy our way in. I don't know how long they would want to keep that up. I don't know how you sell that to a student body. I don't know how you sell that to a university president and alumni group. You know, we're going to play in a league, but we don't get any money out of it. We just show up and play, and we buy our way in like a poker game. That's where they are. And it's a story because it's SMU. The very thing that got them put on probation and killed is the thing they have to do now just to stay alive.